down too long. I'd like to start with some audience participation.
Oh no, you don't. It's bad for the people.
Okay, that's fine. It's bad for the people.
Oh, the video. It's for the people. It's bad for the people. Okay, I'll start again. I'd like to start with some audience participation.
Oh yes, you do.
Oh yes, I do. I know. No, I'd like to invite you to relax for a moment and shut your eyes. Yes. So just relax and close your eyes and bring to mind your perfect partner, your heart's desire, and hold that image. Enjoy it. Keep it to yourself.
I've got too many.
Well, you can have multiples. I didn't say we had to be monogamous even.
I haven't got any.
Anyway, what turns you on is, after all, an entirely private matter. Now I want you to imagine someone who you couldn't possibly be physically attracted to because of their sex. Imagine being told that you need to work on broadening your sexual preference to be all-encompassing. Open your eyes. I call that conversion practice. As lesbians, if we fail to broaden up, we're branded as sexual racists by the CEO of the very organisation set up originally to advocate for those who share our sexual orientation. In fact, the name we used for centuries to describe ourselves is now being used to mean something entirely different. Welcome to being a lesbian in 2023. Now, if you have no doubts, and I am looking at the most self-assured room full of lesbians I've ever seen in my life, so I imagine most of you will fall into this category, you will hold your own, and like Anne Lister in 1821, you know who you are. You may respond eloquently to this nonsense with, I love and only love the fairer sex, and thus beloved by them in turn, my heart revolts from any love but theirs. You may be affronted, dismiss it all as nonsense, or, God forbid, be offended. But you will carry on loving who you love regardless. Operating under the radar, as we always used to. Secret meetings, underground networks, away from the withering glare of the misogynistic patriarchal spotlight. But now imagine you're a young, gender non-conforming teenage girl, struggling through puberty, desperate to escape the hyperfeminisation and hypersexualisation all around you. Perhaps you identify as non-binary, a bit of a Greek in space, or perhaps you reject the mighty phallus and declare that you are a lesbian. Off you go to a shiny, fun, well-funded queer or LGBTWTF youth group. And that's for those who are different. You're home at last. You say, you fancy girls. They ask you, are you sure you're not actually a boy trapped in a girl's body? More conversion pressure. If you stick to your guns, you get the sexual racist treatment. Pressured to accept male bodies into your dating pool and told that you're transphobic if you don't. To those young women, we say a lesbian is an exclusively same-sex attracted adult human female, and we don't do dick. We're protected under the Equality Act on the basis of sexual orientation. Gender identity and sexual orientation are two completely separate things. Forced teaming isn't working. They've never been comfortable bedfellows. So let's call an end to the meaningless, ever-expanding acronym which just allows people to tick-box their way through diversity requirements. Address each group individually. We're lesbians, not LGBTQ women. We need to be visible and audible so that those emerging lesbians know that they are okay just exactly as they are. So that they can see what a future lesbian life might look like. Of course, a lot of us have no role models when we came out, but we all found our way. Can we hope that young lesbians will do the same? We weren't up against the Transborg, an ideology and propaganda telling us that we were something else entirely. A young 14-year-old said to a friend of mine recently that she'd decided she was trans. Last time we spoke, you said you were a lesbian, she challenged. Well, I don't know how to be one. I mean, do lesbians even wear? I know what trans people look like. That's in a little town in the middle of England. I also want to mention the issue, as we've heard very eloquently put, of the number of lesbians, especially butch lesbians, who are transitioning. So I just wanted to do a hands up. Who knows a lesbian who has transitioned? I think that's a really sad thing. So that's 3 types of invisible right there. Youngsters who get diverted, established lesbians gone underground again, and lesbians opting to transition. But there is growing resistance, and we're fighting back in numerous ways. One way I resist, tra-la, is in a political party. So having been a founder signatory of the Labour Women's Declaration with Kerry and others, any of the LWDers here? Several, here we go, jolly good. The working group for the Labour Women's Declaration had a meeting, and it occurred to me that one way we could organise, we had councillors getting together, regional groups, there was all sorts of little subgroups, and I thought, why don't we get the lesbians together? And that's how it started. Mary was there. Mary's here as well. Yeah, Mary was one of the few. There's bound to be a lot of lesbians on the left, you'd think, in the largest political party in Europe. We're the leaflet hander-outers and the door knockers and the tea makers and the just women that get on and do it. And then there's a trade union movement. Masses of lesbians, you would have thought. So anyway, we founded Lesbian Labour in November 2020. And if you've not heard about us, just look up lesbianlabour.com and you'll find out all about us. Now, the Labour Party. Yes, it is. Wouldn't it be nice to go with the Labour Party and for you all to go, yay! That would have been how it was once, wouldn't it?
Jeremy was there.
Well, yes. Now then, there's another story. It is a slow, tortuous process doing battle with a party which is still a Stonewall diversity champion, and it still receives training from gendered intelligence. And according to the news just the other day, it may end up giving membership to the ex-Tory Ian Anderson, the chair of Stonewall. Carolyn Garner-Smith, no. Loads of us excluded, or, has anybody been expelled from the party? There we go, we've got one there. Anybody else been investigated? Anti-Semitism and hostility to gender reassignment was my crime. I was found innocent, rather like Tonya, that there was no crime. But it's the process, isn't it? That's the punishment. So, you left. Yeah, that's another thing. Hands up if you've left the Labour Party. Look at that, Kerry. Bloody hell! Look at that. Can somebody take a photo of that and send it, please? Because that's what we're saying. Labour is losing women and Labour is losing lesbians. That is amazing.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry?
Did you say who's in the Labour?
Left.
Who's left?
Anybody still in there? Oh my God, look at that. Well, look at each other and make friends later. The thing is, it's our party. Socialism doesn't belong to them. It's ours. And anyway, I understand if you've gone. I've been waiting to be shut down. Anyway, carrying on, our party, whether it's past, present or future, is a party which has made a manifesto commitment to do the impossible and maintain the Equality Act 2010 with its single-sex exemptions, whilst modernising the GRA. We wait with bated breath to hear how that will work in practice, and Kerry and others behind the scenes are doing all we can to actually get them to the place where they have to say, this is impossible. So a big round of applause. As lesbians in Labour, we are up against LGBT plus Labour. They are the affiliated organisation, and they refuse to work with us. To quote from their letter, your public priorities reflect the priorities of only a negligible proportion of lesbians in Labour. Our most senior Labour lesbian politician is, of course, Angela Eagle. She has yet not once responded to our requests to meet. And I mean, it happens to be a partner, but that's a personal matter. Maria Exel is now the president of the TUC, and she accuses us of being a gateway drug to the far right. I quote, and is maintaining a no debate stance. So it's also not right that one trade union after the other unthinkingly adopts self-ID with consultation. Is anybody in a trade union that's adopted self-ID? Oh, that's good. There's not many hands up there. Now, is that because you're not in a trade union, though? Ooh, complicated question. I'll leave that there. If you are in any body, body of people, I mean, not in your own body, argue it. Just argue it. Don't accept it. Anyway, we're all meant to pretend we're one big, happy, ever-expanding, inclusive rainbow family. Well, we're not.
They fucked up the rainbow anyway.
They have fucked up the rainbow.
We have the right to organise autonomously as lesbians in separate spaces in the time-honoured labour movement tradition of caucuses. They are by their very nature exclusive, and that's okay. We don't want men in lesbian spaces. It's necessary to our survival to have male-free spaces. You cannot surgically remove male advantage, entitlement or privilege. Hormones may decrease testosterone levels, but they do not reduce learned behaviour from lived experience growing up as a man in a man's world. So no thank you, so no thank you, Stonewall and Co, for rewriting our sexual boundaries. We will keep them. And we are, lesbians, let me have you repeat after me, exclusively same-sex attracted adult human females. What are we?
Exclusively same-sex attracted adult human females.
That wouldn't work on a dating site, would it? They'd have clicked or swiped left by the time you've done all of that. Anyway, the need to gather with our own kind is as culturally necessary for us as it is for any other group in society. It's not all about dignity, privacy, all of that safety, all of the women's issues that we're fighting on. That matters, but for us, it's a cultural necessity. And we need to gather with our own kind, and we want a seat at the table on that basis. In Scotland, Scottish Labour would gain massive votes by being reasonable about sex-based rights, and who knows? Nicola's gone. Anything could happen there. In Wales, Mark Drakeford has actually said he wants to follow her example. He may follow her example and resign, but yeah, he wants to bring in self-ID, and the plan launched last week in Wales is actually a Stonewall document. He has not consulted with anybody that is not part of the Stonewall and Co. So, I mean, there's loads of lesbians, there's LGBT Alliance Cymru doing the job, there's Lesbian Labour Cymru, there's Merched Cymru, they're all doing what they can. If you have any Welsh contacts, they need help, because they'll be next. And who else is next? We know what happened in Norway. We got a message from one of the Women's Declaration International contacts in Malta, where self-ID is law. This was a message from her, from Rosa. We can no longer have lesbian-only spaces. Young lesbians who are not feminine are being brainwashed and told that they're men, with the unnecessary hormones and surgery that comes with it. Those who regret it are too scared to speak. Young lesbians no longer know what a lesbian is because they're taught to include men. This is lesbian erasure. It's conversion therapy. Conform to stereotypes or you will be made to. Please do not do the same in the UK. Good luck. Now, finally, I just want to finish talking briefly about lesbian networking. Many of us here, I'd like a show of hands, are veterans of the women's peace movement. Not just you, I'm sure. Hands up. Anybody involved? Yeah, right, okay. If I say Greenham, do we know what Greenham is?
Yeah.
Jolly good. All right. Now, the threats in those days were a shoot-to-kill policy, so we're not afraid of a few blue and pink hair twats out on the street shouting at us. You know, there's no comparison, and they don't understand that. Anyway, we also know how to weave a web. We are the spinsters, experts at word of mouth, gaydar, secret signals, and it's how we've survived. Organising in small clusters, affinity groups, impossible to find a leader and therefore impossible to shut us down. And now we have social media as a tool allowing us to spread internationally. And I personally bow to the goddess that is Zoom. But remember this, 40 years ago, before mobile phones, as you mentioned, we got 30,000 women to Green Common. We know how to do it, and we've never had funding. So being hidden and unfunded may be barriers, but that's not going to stop us. I believe in strength in numbers. United we stand, divided we fall. So let's build alliances. Our lesbian revival is underway. Not only do we need to resist erasure, we need to reclaim our roots and rebuild our culture. Now the culture bit comes after the break. You'll be very surprised, and we want you all involved in the next concert. Lots of groups and individuals are doing their part in different spheres. We've got a lesbian immigration support group. There's Lesbian Fight Back. Get the L was already mentioned. Lesbians on Chairs. Is Julia here?
Yeah, she's on.
Oh yeah, you're there, right, okay. I mean, Lesbian Rights Alliance. Elaine Hutton was there last night from the Lesbian Rights Alliance. There's LGBT Alliance Cymru. Recently, Scottish lesbians formed. Lesbians United in the USA, the Vancouver Lesbian Collective. There's a Lesbian Spaces Initiative regularly at Philia. Proud Lesbians Project. And we have, since lockdown, been meeting fortnightly by Zoom in a thing called Lesbians Under Lockdown. Women from all over the world. The first woman came from Alaska. I don't know how. I mean, you know, being the only gay in the village in Wales is one thing, but the only lesbian in Alaska, right? Anyway, she found us, and there's Swedish women, Malta, Australia, Spain, Germany, literally every fortnight, meeting on a Thursday night. You know, and it's safe. You haven't got loonies outside your door. Anyway, camping groups, book groups, lesbian discos, which I think, who's going tomorrow night? Right, Tonya, have a look. Can you stand up if you're going tomorrow night? Sapphic Central Disco in Ballon. Right, Tonya, these are your in tomorrow night. Okay, I've been Tonya's tour manager. We've toured together all week, and I'm going home tomorrow, so she needs you lot to take her to the disco. Will you look after her?
Yes.
All right, sorted. Anyway, we're all moving the struggle forward one step at a time, and we've been doing it for years, some longer than others. I'd like to acknowledge Julia. You were the first at the 2016 Thinking Differently conference. First time I heard of this nonsense, you know, and the canaries in the coal mine. Let's face it, we're the canaries in the coal mine. But we've built strength and resilience. I'd like to say, sadly, that internationally our sisters have a different battle. Remember that in 69 countries, homosexuality is still illegal. And I was going to finish there, but Tonya and I got in a taxi on the way here. And the driver was from Edinburgh, and he was leaving taxi driving after he let us out of the cab because Uber have taken over and the Mayor of London is ruining black cabs. Anyway, he discovered we were lesbians, didn't take much. And I mean, it was amazing. He was a film cameraman, really, and he'd been doing gay pride for years. And he started telling us all sorts of stories, but the sad story was this. He said that there had been two women in the back of a cab, and one of them was a black African woman, and one was a white English woman, is what they'd said to him. Do you mind if we hold hands? And he said, well, it's none of my business. And they said, we were in a taxi recently, and the taxi driver was an African man from a country where homosexuality was illegal, and he actually took those women, threw them out against the wall, drove off and left them in the middle of the night. What he didn't realise is one of those women was a lawyer. I thought that was worth sharing with you. Anyway, my real, from the bottom of my heart call to all of you here is, please put our differences aside and work together for a safe and fair world for lesbians everywhere. Thank you.